5 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of before, chatbots were really like a big thing, but like Avi and Chad, some more of our leadership team, they kind of saw where the world was going. And then from there, we built a data management solution. And from there, we built another solution. And it was 2021, right before I started, where our leadership team and the LifePoint leadership team at the time, they kind of got in a whiteboard or a room with a whiteboard and said, hey, what should the future look like of digital health, right? And it was basically like that's where we kind of developed the concept of the major platform. And so take every component, whether it's the data management foundational layer or the digital front door tools that we have,
right,
or the lead management components, or the CRM, or the patient outreach, or referral management. Take all of these things that like everything that's patient engagement or like related to like helping a patient navigate the care journey, put that all under one roof. And so that's the vision that we kind of signed up for with LifePoint. And that's what we're in the process of building out and implementing right now. So they purposely kind of bought vaporware, not the negative sense of the world, but they knew that they were buying something that didn't exist yet.
Right.
And so we've been with them on building this out, and building it out under one roof, under one, and the theory kind of is like, hey, 2 + 2 = 5. Because you and me as patients, like, we know what a disjointed experience feels
Absolutely,
like, right?
yep.
Like, nothing's talking to anything else, and you're like, I've already given this information multiple times. And so how do you strip all that out and just make it as like we should know, Mark, you prefer text message, we know your PCP, we know when it's been 366 days since your last appointment. Like, we should just, like, we know the referrals, like, we can text you, like, it's the same number, like, it should just feel seamless to
Sure.
you. And the issue that we've seen from our vantage point is these health systems, they buy up 20 different point
Yes.
solutions, they're managing
Right.
20 different vendors, and each one's good at its own thing, but nobody's looking at it holistically, and the person that suffers from all this is
the patient. Yeah.
Well, health system partially, right? Because they're
Yeah.
managing 20 different vendors and contracts and everything, but the patient at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of what the audacious goal that we've kind of set out to tackle. And so now going back to kind of your original question of, well, how have I been involved? So I manage that LifePoint implementation,
Okay.
which is a beast in and of itself, right?
I can imagine. Yeah.
And a lot of like expectation and re-expectation setting, and like, it's a constant moving target because we're building the software as we implement. And then LifePoint split into Scion, and so now managing LifePoint and
Right.
Scion, and then signed this ardent partnership. And so those are the 3 big accounts that I manage. And so the way our organization is set up is I purposely kind of go very deep with a few clients. And then my counterpart, a woman named Angela, she has kind of 40 other customers that only have like 1 or 2 point solutions. And so
Okay.
if you think about it, there's so much opportunity with those 40.
Sure,
We can tell a story. We can bring them along. We might not sell them the whole platform,
Right.
but if you are a data management customer, did you know that we also do search and scheduling, right? If you do search and scheduling, did you know that we also do patient outreach? If you do patient outreach, and so like you can kind of see how it starts to like bolt together, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the big vision is that we connect all this and make it very, very modular, and then make it really easy for our customers to kind of like just add on loyal products and ultimately get really, really sticky.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a lot easier to sell more to an existing customer than, getting like from my understanding with like LifePoint, this is going to be a full enterprise, like you said, stuff that's not even built yet. But this isn't going to be a modular type of deal, right? It's the whole system. Is that correct? Whereas the other clients, it's more point solution. Quick question.
And just the insight into kind of how the past year and a half from my vantage point has played out is we sold that one big deal, platform deal with LifePoint. Beginning part of when I was at Loyal, we said, okay, let's go sell more platform deals. We started realizing like LifePoint might have been like a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
And that's just not how people buy software. They don't just say, oh, it sounds great, cool vision. Here's, several millions of dollars. Like you got to earn it a little bit more. And so what we've started doing is kind of swinging the pendulum back to the middle and saying, hey, what are the bundles that we can go sell?
Smart.
And that seems to resonate a lot more. So we're not point solution. We're not selling platform. We're selling more of these bundles. And so I think we can, the advantage that we have is we can sell all three if we wanted to, right?
Right.
I mean, Chad, our CEO, he stepped in and had one meeting with Marty, the CEO of Ardent. And within an hour, Marty said, great, we're going to do this, full platform deal from basically they had not implemented a single Loyal product and they went all in on the whole vision. That's the dream state, right?
Yeah.
That's what we could get to. We could also sell bundles of call it 3, 4, 5, 6 different point solutions kind of that are very neatly interwoven. Or we could also kind of do these onesie twosies point solutions if we wanted to. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that insight. With this, we'll obviously want to sell the big enterprise deals. Do you see a lot of pushback from future customers or even LifePoint? What we talked about earlier is they have 20 point solution vendors, and for a company like Loyal or any company to come in there and basically be that singular unified solution, is there going to be a lot of disruption to their workflow while that, let's say somebody signs off and they say, yeah, we want to do that, but what does the disruption to workflow and the patient experience look like as that transition happens? Is that something you guys have thought about?
Yeah, it's I'll use Ardent as an example here because they just signed and kind of been building out the implementation plan. Part of the tricky part of one of these major enterprise deals, right, is, well, we just signed up to implement 20 different products. Well, an organization can only handle so much change. We can only we only have so much bandwidth, and so what we've been kind of forced to do is basically say, hey, not all products are created equal. What are the most important ones?
Yes.
That we need to move forward, and so we're putting a lot of emphasis on data management, on scheduling, on patient outreach, the things that are probably going to make up, it's kind of 20% of the products that make up 80% of the benefit.
Right.
That they're going to see. And then pushing out little things that suck up a lot of oxygen and are kind of nice to haves, but are just honestly not going to move the needle that much.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of forced to build this implementation plan that staggers it over the course of multiple years.
Sure.
And that is, I think that's just the reality where we are until we get to, and what we'll do over time, right, is our implementation team will get better. We'll get faster implementations.
Right.
We'll get more and so we'll get better and better for every one of these that we do. But right now we're still very much, in our awkward teenage years, kind of figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good problem to have, though. If with a customer like LifePoint that's willing to jump in, head first with you guys, and I feel like once that gets rolled out, I feel like you can leverage that customer success story, and hopefully you have some nice ROI studies that you can give to a salesperson like myself or whoever that person is to leverage that and sell into similar organizations, because that's one of the first things that customers, whether it's health plans, health systems, ask for is oh, what have you done for so and so, right? What if let me see your ROI for our competitor or something like that, and that's a great opportunity there. So
I'll be the first to admit that we have work to do there, right? We being a point solution company historically, we're really good at telling you the nth level of detail about a chatbot and every conversation that's happened. Are we able to step back and say, here's the ROI of a platform? That's a different muscle or a different way of thinking completely. And so we're doing a lot of work right now to help our organization kind of zoom out and say, look, the leaders that we're selling to now, C-suite and so on, they're straight up telling us, we don't care about a chatbot. We don't care about, this feature or that feature. That doesn't matter. I care about growth. I care about cost reduction. I care about patient engagement. What's
satisfaction.
That overall?
Yep.
And I care about quality. And so those are the 4 buckets that we're kind of thinking about. And none of those are one solution. It's a combination of solutions. So we definitely have work to do here, and it's an area where we're investing a lot more time and energy.
Great. Yeah, I mean, sounds like you guys have a lot of momentum. So, fantastic. And I'm supposed to, and I've really enjoyed my conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm supposed to meet with your chief product officer right now at 12:30 Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah, help me with his name. It's ABHI Abhi?
It's Abby.
Abhi. Okay, great. I'm so glad. I got
Yeah,
to-
I'll tell him right now that you're on the way.
Oh yeah, so I know we're on a couple minutes late.
He's also sick. We both have.
Oh man,
sick
really?
days.
Catching you guys on the best days. I apologize.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, well great. That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited about the opportunity here, and I know you guys. It sounds like you've had this position like semi-open, and your team is certainly looking for the right fit from my understanding, and it sounds like you guys do a really good job of evaluating talent before they join the company, and I really respect that a lot. So like I said, the more I've learned and the more conversations I've had, obviously with you and Steph and all that, I just feel like there's a ton of opportunity for me to join, and I really feel like I could get ramped up very quickly and then really just start pounding the pavement to try to get some discovery calls scheduled, right, and get some interest. So that would be my plan of attack, if this would all work out in the near future. So
Great. Well, Mark, thank you for taking the time to connect with me and
yeah, no, thank you.
conversation with Abby. I let him know that you're on the way. So
Okay, great. All right. Well, I hope you feel better, and hopefully we'll talk soon. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Abby, how you doing?
I'm good.
I heard you're under the weather as well. According to Charlie. Sorry, man.
Yeah, were you talking to Charlie?
Yeah. He said he's got like strep throat and you're not feeling too hot. I'm like, oh, great. I feel bad to meet with you guys. Probably the last thing you want to do is an interview. So I really appreciate the time, my friend.
Oh yeah, all good. It's much easier to work when you're sick and you get to work from home. It's just
Yeah, definitely.
you got all the essentials nearby.
Definitely. Well, thanks.
Is that your office or where are you?
Yeah, I work from home too. It's my home office. I live downtown. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm in San Diego. Um, so yeah, my wife and I, we actually both work remote. I work sometimes downstairs. Like we have like a big, it's kind of like a mini WeWork station in this building. So it's, yeah, it's pretty nice. So it's been super overcast today, but yeah, not too bad.
That's great. Yeah, so it's a high-rise condo, huh, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm on the 18th floor. So, but yeah, are you out in Georgia?
I'm in Atlanta, just like Charlie. Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Well, cool. Yeah. No, happy to interview. This is great, and thank you for your time.
No problem.
Pretty casual conversations, I think, from our side. Maybe a little bit of background about yourself
Sure.
would be great. Just, I think maybe landing on the why.
Yeah.
Kind of like why you're here and why we're chatting will be fantastic, and hopefully we can have a couple of questions. I might have a couple of questions along the
For
way,
sure.
but
Yeah.
and I'll toss it over to you and
Okay.
let you go away.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, yeah. As you know, live in San Diego. Went to San Diego State. Grew up in Southern California, so my mom's still up in Long Beach. That's the area I'm from. Been in sales my whole career. Broke into healthcare, technology, medical software. Back in 2012. And if you look at my resume, I've had a really unique journey. Man, I started in the EMR RCM space. Worked for a couple companies. NextGen was the most recent. Yeah, if you're familiar with them. And from there, obviously I had a lot of success. I'm
Are
sorry.
they dental? Are they
No,
dental?
NextGen is NextGen serves 20. Dental isn't the one thing we didn't actually serve. So we did everything from urgent care, family med, podiatry, 20 different specialties. We were focused primarily before the acquisition, ambulatory clinics. Then we got into the bigger multi-site, clinics, and then we also served a lot of billing organizations until we started selling RCM in house, right? Because we would sell the billing software to medical billers, big and small. But yeah, I was there for, I did that EMR space for, I don't know, about 3-4 years or so. I kind of got in at the tail end of like the meaningful use, and remember when physicians and hospitals were getting, incentivized to switch from paper to electronic. So, and then, from there, I got recruited by a company called Interpreta, which was my first taste of the startup early stage company. What we did is we were a clinical quality analytics platform. So we did everything from risk adjustment. We did all the value-based P4P, HEDIS, the STARS metrics, and we were selling to managed care, IPAs, health plans, health systems. And my role there, starting with, we had 30 employees. They wanted to get acquired. The goal was to obviously bring the product to market, find that first paying customer, which is why they hired me. And I was able to do that. And I was definitely kind of like a little over my skis initially, just because working for a big company like NextGen, 3,000, 3,500 employees to 30 employees with no sales process or, workflow in place. Like I really had to really figure it out. But I'm so glad I did that, just because it was, such a big growth opportunity for me, from just handling, some like marketing in a way to like really just pounding the pavement and trying to get some interest. So yeah, we were acquired by Centene. Fortunately, I had equity and all that, and that was nice. But unfortunately, Centene bought the technology and the analytics solution for, they own 33 some odd health plans. So no need for a salesperson. I didn't get enough equity payout to retire on the beach in Miami or anything like that. So had to keep working. But from there, I worked for a company called eHealth Technologies. And it sounds like a very generic name, I know, but this was a company that I really got to build out my contact base on the health system, academic-based hospitals and health systems. Essentially what we did in a nutshell is we did medical record retrieval. We worked with, like our bread and butter was pretty much transplant oncology when I started, and then we got into more orthopedics as well. So what we would do is we would gather all records before the patient's first visit. So I'll give you an example, like Stanford Cancer Center was one of the big clients that I landed from a new logo signing. We would essentially aggregate all of the patient records when a patient gets referred to Stanford Cancer Center, and you can imagine they're getting referrals from all across the nation. So before that patient's first care visit, that acute care physician is going to want to have a clear picture of the patient's health history, right? Labs, charts, diagnostic, you name it. And we bundle that. We would have some analytics and then some technology in play to make it searchable, have an HL7 integration, pretty basic, and then deliver that to the outside media to have an Epic, for example, right? But I was really able to grow that part of the business. I brought on, Sharp. I worked with a lot of UC systems here in California, Houston Methodist, some of the big transplant and oncology hospitals in Texas. And then, unfortunately, we were acquired by a private equity company, Aldrich Capital Partners, a couple of years after I started. And there was a change in leadership, that whole nine. So was kind of out of a job from there. And what I tried to do was my own consulting business. I started that. I was really excited about it just because I feel like I had a lot of momentum. I had the contacts, and I was doing pretty well. I was helping, clinicians, administrators, even some C-level investors evaluate population health, RCM, EMR solutions, and then COVID hit. So that, that kind of threw a wrench in it. And so I had to try to switch it up and do something different. And that's when I joined WellTalk, which was acquired by Virgin Pulse. So the goal with WellTalk was to get acquired. I didn't know it was going to be Virgin Pulse, but was supposed to come in there and bring revenue in the door, build a pipeline to really improve our valuation, and was able to do that successfully. Signed a couple health plans, was working with some health systems as well. And then from there, didn't get fired or anything like that. It's just I got approached by UCM. If you've ever been part of acquisition, there was territory cuts. There was already salespeople in place that it seemed like there was some favoritism, and I didn't like that. Especially I was the top producer at WellTalk, so I felt a little just undervalued. And UCM came to me, and we're a digital front door / telehealth medical concierge company. We have about 75 employees. And to answer your question, why am I talking to you, is that it's been a pretty positive experience, but we've had funding challenges. We were supposed to have our Series B round closed end of Q2, Q3 of last year. That hasn't happened. The economic climate that we're in is, it's not easy. So like I said, I've worked for, several organizations, several startups, and, it's just been a little frustrating when all the investment from the development, the innovation, from even the sales marketing side, that's all fallen by the wayside. So that's why I've been kind of exploring new opportunities. And I know we just let go like 7 or 8 of our care navigators. So it's not a good thing, but I'm not trying to jump ship. I really want to find the right fit. So that's kind of my background. Sorry if I rambled on too fast or too long there. I was just trying to fit it all in.
Yeah, no, it's helpful. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Any reason, like self-reflection on why you keep joining startups?
I've been really attracted to startups ever since Interpreta, just because it's been exciting to really be on the ground floor and be part of a team that, what I noticed with NextGen, for example, is that I would say, 70% of the people, and this has been consistent with some other bigger companies I've worked with, 70, maybe even higher, 70 people go to work because they're just trying to get a paycheck, right? What I've noticed with startups and early stage companies is that everybody's really bought into the mission. Everybody's bought in for a common goal, whether that's the receptionist or, support person to the founders. I really just feel like that type of environment you really have a pure team environment and that everyone's trying to help each other out to be successful, right? And I haven't always seen that. Additionally, when working for a startup, it's probably the most challenging thing to do from a sales perspective. But I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, even though I'm a failed entrepreneur, so to speak. I tried my hand at it. But just having the freedom and the creativity to implement processes, some that maybe work, some that don't, but having that responsibility and the payout is I feel like is so great when you have success and eventually you are led to that acquisition, which I've done a couple times throughout my career. So that's kind of why I've always been attracted to it. But certainly it's not like I've always been like, oh, I have to work for a startup. It's I just look at opportunities that come my way and try to make the best decision.
What's I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this. It's like the right motive. What's the motivation for you? You've had a lot of sales roles.
Mm-hmm.
Is that and several different leadership sales roles
Mm-hmm.
in these organizations? Like, what are you looking for next, I guess?
Yeah, good question. It's funny when I had the second meeting with Steph. Obviously I looked at her LinkedIn and but when I got a chance to speak with her and I was asking her questions about her journey. From my understanding, she's been with Loyal from the very beginning, right? And what I told her this, I was like, what you have done with Loyal is what I was trying to achieve or inspiring when I joined Interpreta back then, right? I was trying to find that fit where, obviously what motivates me is I'm in sales. I want to make money. I have to make the company money for me to even have a job, right? So that's number one. But also number two is really to not just really grow my career, but be part of a business, a team, an organization where you can really do something special. Not to sound corny or cliche. So I feel like that's what really motivates me. Thinking back to my time eHealth when I was working with all these transplant and oncology centers, what was also rewarding was that yes, we were having success. Yes, I was closing deals and we were doing well from the sales perspective, but we were really shortening the time from a patient getting referred to them getting seen by a clinician and ultimately getting a treatment. Like Stanford, it was 34 days from referral to actually first care visit. We were able to get that under 10. So we were literally part of saving lives, even though the patient had no idea who eHealth was, right? Because we were just doing all the back end record stuff. But having that mix where you're making money, you're getting wins, right? Because that's, I feel like for me in sales, getting a win and getting a customer and getting a client and having a client that's actually happy after you get the win, that's super rewarding. And then also on the flip side, knowing that you're part of something that is impacting people's lives or even saving people's lives, that's kind of the holy grail, right? From my perspective anyway, as a salesperson. So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What questions do you have for me?
Yeah, one question I had for you. I know you're dealing, with the product and the solution. Maybe just a personal question is I asked Steph this as well. What initially attracted you to this company and what's kind of motivating you or inspiring you to continue your work with Loyal, even on days like this when you're under the weather.
Yeah. Well, I started just before Steph. I think I was employee number 2 and she was number 3. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
We started really at the same time, and I think we probably have the same reason. I mean, we both wanted to start something, and we both had a mutual connection to Chad, who is the CEO.
Yeah.
And we both had experiences with Chad which we really appreciated. Like, we just knew who he was as a person, and if you're going to start a company and your core team is starting out, that's got to be as good as you can hope it can be, right?
Sure.
It's not perfect, but that was really it. I had no passion for healthcare necessarily. I was a software developer, and
Right.
you know, I was really brought on to build the tech, and that was my job, and I had a fantastic time doing it. You know, you always look back in the early days, and you look back at them romantically. I know they were tough, but you know, it's kind of fun to think about. And you know, I think Chad's got his flaws, of course, like any CEO, but his pros are really great, fantastic, and he's real, he's authentic, he always comes through, he treats you like a friend. He's my boss, but it's truly a partnership, and you can feel that, and that's super important. And
Yeah.
and the three of us have stayed together. I would say that just as much about Steph now as I do Chad, which is we built a partnership, and it's really hard to do. It's hard to find
Sure.
salespeople who understand product and like truly understand how hard it is to build stuff, and that we're working our hardest to not have bugs and
Yeah.
not to commit features to the roadmap, and just to close a deal. And she has been all of that and more. And frankly, I think she could run product if she wanted to, because she's very thoughtful. She asks good questions, and she's very long-term and strategic in her thinking. And I hope I've learned from her, like, hey, I see what she does, and I see
Mhm.
like just how hard it is to build a relationship, to truly engender the trust from the customer, so that they make a big bet on you. So it's not always just the product. The product doesn't win out, especially in enterprise,
Yeah, definitely. Right.
and definitely in healthcare. And so I think we have got a really good relationship. And so the three of us, you know, what keeps me here, and one, we are building something special. I see that. How many people can say they built a, you know, $24 million revenue company, or we're on our way to 30, and we're just getting started, honestly. It's crazy.
Sure.
So that's special, and you can see it. Like, you can play it out, but also not to get too ahead of yourself. You know, just like an athlete who doesn't want to think about, you know, game 7, they want to think about game 5, right?
Right.
If I'm LeBron, I'm not thinking about game 7. I got to win game 5. And so, like, you got to keep the stuff ahead of you, and focus and execute. And I think that's where we are today, right? We can see the big picture, but we got a lot of execution stuff going on, and that's a challenge, and that's a privilege. And I get to do it with people that I trust, and there's definitely healthy tension, but it's all really good and constructive. So yeah.
No, that's great. No, thanks for sharing that insight. Speaking of building stuff, and you said that, like, how? What are your thoughts on the deal with LifePoint that you guys closed? Congratulations, by the way. That's obviously a massive deal. And from my understanding, is that, you know, they really signed up as a partner with you guys, and you guys are eventually going to implement things that really aren't built yet, right? From the solution workflow standpoint, is that correct? And what has your role been in there? Or how has your experience been with that deal, and what do you see moving forward, like challenges and you know, the end product?
Oh man, so it's so difficult, and from both the customer relationship perspective and the actual product building perspective, they have been extremely great partners. I mean, it starts with the contract. Like, the contract was built and structured in a way that, one, incentivized loyal success.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, you're going to get warrants in our business You're going to get rewards in our business because we want you to reap the rewards of what we build, not only just for you, but for the market. And that, I think, only could have been done by a health system that had private equity or an investor-led mindset.
Right.
And that's what LifePoint is. They're backed by Apollo, huge private equity firm. And so we had a great sort of like commonality in our goals and alignment. And then the MSA was structured in a way that it was vague, right? There's no product deliverable timeline. There's no like, hey, we got to have this thing done by this date. There's some stuff in there that's kind of natural, but it was really intentionally vague.
Sure.
And there was a structure put in place to allow decision makers at Loyal and at LifePoint to come together frequently and just say, how are we doing? What's our progress? All those kinds of things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
really makes sense. So
yeah,
starts with the contract, starts with the relationship, starts with alignment. And even then, even with all those things working really, really well, you still run into a bunch of, stuff. And we're dealing with that. It's easy, relationships change, new people come into the company, you got to re-explain everything, sort of the intention, the partnership. The product was, we're building, we grew from 30 people to 200, we did it very quickly. So you just have a lot of internal challenges around growth. And so, but the vision's the same, the execution's the same. And I think we're getting to those final stages where all that stuff is coming together. So for me, I look at it as like, we've got 6 to 12 more months of like really finalizing those last pieces for LifePoint where they'll start to see their value.
Right.
It takes 2 years, but they'll start to see it. And now we've got this thing that we can go take to the market.
Yes.
Like we've got this huge platform that we can go take, and I know that's the role that you're looking for, but that's the goal. It's like, okay, now let's go talk to HCA, because literally this thing is built for a system like HCA. This is built for Adventist Health. It's built for your huge common spirit, whatever. Like, these are the systems that our platforms are built for, like multi-hospital, multi-specialty, huge health systems that have incredible amount of complexity. That's where we thrive. And we started with the most challenging, because from there we can kind of feather out to just what I would consider easier verticals, like either your physician groups with a sort of a pop health value angle, or your payers, right, who have sort of a different intention, keeping people out of the hospital, but like it's similar, but their data's better. It's a member population, like you're just dealing with a different type of thing. So that's really anyways, that was an answer, not fully to LifePoint, but overall really challenging.
Sure. That makes sense. Like moving forward after you get LifePoint done, do you still feel like future new logo customers that are coming on would the ROI or the use case or the potential be enough for another similar organization to LifePoint to be able to dive in head first like this? Or do you forecast seeing more like maybe bundled solutions where if you can get that off the ground, then it's obviously a lot easier to sell, the whole enchilada, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you got to be strategic with that, especially from a new customer standpoint where maybe you don't have that previous relationship of trust because you've done it before, right? So
I think with again, I think we're probably 6 to 12 months away from that platform story to be sold way more easily. Right now, it's still like we're in implementation for LifePoint to get all of our solutions there. But really, once you do that, you sort of unlock all of these other things sort of behind the scenes. And those other things that get unlocked that are sort of like turnkey, just turn them on. Like, for example, 2-click scheduling, because we're the ones that are like sending out the messages for your next appointment. We don't all the availability for those providers because we're deeply integrated to the EHR. We send the message out to the patient only when there's availability for their next appointment. They get a text message, they click on that link. Oh, we're also the scheduling experience. We fast track them throughout the scheduling experience. We fill out all their information. We've already chosen the provider, and we know that there's availability the next 2 weeks. So all of a sudden your conversion rates go super high, right? Because like we have completely cut through all of the noise that's there today.
Right.
And we're just there. Like I think, again, like 6 months away maybe from that being turned on live fully at LifePoint. There are a lot of things we have to implement to get there.
Right.
But once we do that, and you got the use case and you got the case study, well, we just go say like, do you want a 10% lift on your conversions?
For sure.
That's how much revenue just in the fee-for-service world? Like, it's a pretty easy thing. Oh, how do we get this? You have to buy everything. That's a challenge.
Right.
But isn't this what you want?
Sure. Yeah.
And then that's a conversation.
Definitely. I mean, what I see is just, you have these organizations, whether it's health plans, health systems, like they're using so many different vendors, right? And that's why there's so much inefficiency and, like you said, so much noise. And that's what, as I've dug into what you guys are doing, I mean, that's what's really exciting, right? It's like, because I've sold Virgin Pulse's member engagement side, I've done the analytics side, but the biggest challenge is like, oh, another system I have to use, right? It's another thing. And certainly there are organizations that will sign up for another system. That's usually because their system sucks or their workflow is just complete crap and their spend is too high or whatever it may be on FTEs, whatever. So, I mean, you guys are really bringing everything together. But like you said, it's definitely not easy because you do have to get that investment from the client, right? To be a partner, not just a client, would you say, right?
Yeah. I think we're past that. I think we got three partners, three large enterprise customers. They're all great. Charlie probably has a very different view. He's probably like, oh, it sucks and life is terrible. And he's kind of right. But, in my view, I think of it as, we get past this. What's stopping us?
For sure. Another quick question I had for you. If you were me and, let's say you were me and you started next Monday, like where do you see the biggest, I don't want to say opportunity, but maybe like low-hanging fruit, like where, you could step into this role and, just try to get a win, right? Maybe it's not, just try to get, at least something from a revenue perspective through the door, but if not that, then maybe just finding those large whale accounts and really getting the process going. I mean, do you see a certain part of the country, a certain organization type, anything like that? Sorry, it might be kind of a vague question, but.
I thought someone was yelling across the street. My neighbors. I'm looking outside. No, just a family reunion.
No problem.
I mean, I think the obvious answer is for-profit, large, complex health systems. There's just not that many of them.
Right.
So, the Providences of the world, the Common Spirit, the HCAs, mm-hmm. and there's like probably 20 of them, right? And there's probably some that are out there that are honestly, like, I think we could go get. Bon Secours is one out here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Smaller, probably the size of Ardent.
Right.
Ones that have Epic, or ones that have Athena as their ambulatory, like sort of EHR, I think are really good for us because those are the two that we have really deep integrations with. So you're not dealing with a bunch of like, I don't know, and we had never done this before, and kind of feeling those questions. It's just like, we've done it. And but I think the hardest part is getting that really strategic, innovative leader to look at us and look at us thoughtfully and intelligently. And that's hard. Don't know how much of those types of people are out there, honestly.
Yeah.
Like HCA, we just had a meeting with HCA 2 weeks ago. We just got kicked down to some VPs. They're in their own world. They're, just not thinking about the future.
Like, are you looking at like VP of innovation or digital transformation? Are you seeing and it's hard with these big organizations because you could have similar titles, but then they have completely different roles and responsibilities or different, you know what I mean? So that's the game I've always been playing, is like, that's why you really have to stay in front of it and like, get those warm hand introductions. So anyways, but yeah, what type of titles have you been speaking to that you think have the most,
we honestly haven't. I don't know. Steph would probably know better than I would. But I think it depends. I think is it a committee? We've got to get good at delivering our story to a committee, because I think that's how these decisions get made ultimately.
Yeah.
Or we're talking to the C-level, right? Like with Ardent, it was CFO, Chief Medical Officer, CEO in a room, 1 hour meeting. That literally was a 1 hour meeting. I had a deck, and I was genuinely telling the Chief Medical Officer about what we do, and he's not even looking at the screen.
Oh, man.
It's like, oh, you could do that? And he's like, just kind of talking to him. And I'm like, yeah, but if you just turn around and see kind of like what's trying to, you never did it. And like in an hour, they're like, let's go. And we're like, what did we do? Like, did we do anything here? Like, it becomes a lot easier to get the right people.
Yeah.
And the motivations are aligned, right? So like, again, Ardent brought in a new person to lead their innovation. That person had a span of influence that was there. How do you spot that? How do you ensure that that's, and I think it's probably, Steph would have a better feel for it, but it's probably just, hey, we need to have a lot of those meetings, and you're going to find one of those people that has that right span of influence.
Right. No, that's right.
Time, and you get that opportunity, and, I think if we get that opportunity, it'll work. Like we'll be able to tell our story, and we'll be able to, close.
For sure. I feel like it's all about the timing too, like you could have that person in the room, but if they have one of those days where they don't care, maybe they're not feeling well, it's like you really just have to stay in front of it. Yeah, man. And that's what, that's one thing, I was telling Steph, I was like, if you're looking for somebody that can get in there, I know how to work the room with the C levels. I know how to work my way up if I need to go through a VP or someone else. I can get those discovery calls scheduled. I have the contacts where I can get warm introductions. I'm thinking like UCSF Health. I don't know if that would be an ideal target. Sharp as well. Those are pretty decent size, like 20 hospitals, 15, 20. Is that in the wheelhouse? Because those are some organizations that are close to me that I've had some recent meetings with in person. So
yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think any complex health system will work. Yeah.
Awesome. Some other questions I have for you. Yeah, maybe kind of a final question. I know you guys have been being strategic with like finding the right person for this role, and when I talked to Jesus, you said that you guys maybe kind of started looking or opening it up like end of last year, early this year. Have you done a lot of these interviews? Have you had any good conversations with some folks interviewing, and maybe what are some of the things that have led to not having somebody step into this position that maybe they were missing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mindset, again, like it starts at the top here. Chad, myself, Steph, like I think we learned early on, it's not just about the product.
Right.
It's not just about the customer. It's not just about the sales. It's, you got to do them all, and you got to do them well together. And in order to make that happen, you've got to play the long game. Like, you can't play short-term victory. And that's not how you're going to win. That's a path to acquisition, which is great, honestly. Like, path to acquisition is great. And that's where we were 4 years ago. It's like, we were like, let's go get acquired. And I don't know, something changed in us. Somewhere halfway through our journey, we were like, actually, we can maybe do all of this and build it and really make this company, whether it's go public or just endure, over a period of time. And I think we can do that. But in order to do that, everything's got to be long-term. Like, yes, you got to execute on the short term, and yes, you got to build your pipeline, and yes, you got to close deals, but you can't be pushy. You want to build relationships that last. We want the partnerships that last forever. We want LifePoint to be a customer forever.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the mentality, right? And that's not easy. It takes patience, and it just takes a different type of mindset. It's really not for everyone. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's been the hardest thing, is like finding that balance of someone who can really come in and do that sort of short-term execution of the job. And that's on the product side too, right? Like, on the product side, we talk a lot about having the mentality of being in front of the customer. Like, yeah, we want to do really interesting, cool tech stuff, but we also have to know and understand the customer, and we have to build the ship.
Yeah.
And there's no ifs and or buts about it, and we can do it. We can do both. And what I will give you as a product team is time. That's what I can do for you, right? I can give you time.
Yeah.
And it's always been the way that we've operated.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I can tell you, like, there's been times where I've told, prospective customers that I honestly didn't feel like it was a right fit, even though, this is maybe going back to next gen days, but just because of their specialty or the workflow. And I feel like a lot of, I remember I had a buddy, because we sat in cubes back then. He's sitting next to me. He's like, dude, why'd you tell him no? Because, like, it seemed like he's ready to go. I'm like, because I know 3 months from now he's going to be pissed, because there were things on the demo that our solution specialist said we could do, which we kind of could, but I knew it wasn't a fit. But I actually got 3 referrals from that clinic over the next 4 months. And like, I just think about that lesson. I'm like, that's how it should be done, right? And maybe I had the luxury of doing that because I was usually at the top of the board. But I'm a big believer in that, man. Is if you do it right for the customer, it'll pay dividends for you long term. Instead of a lot of guys are just trying to get that short term win, which you definitely do need the short term wins, right? You need to close deals, otherwise you're out the door. So no, that totally resonates with me, man. So great. Well. Yeah, I appreciate that. Maybe just in closing, I always like to ask this. I know we didn't talk that long, and you're not feeling too hot, but just on our conversation, do you see any red flags or any reason why I wouldn't be a fit for this role, or at least maybe a fit to continue conversations in the future? And please be candid.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I've had a lot of interesting conversations for this role, or variations of this role. Steph has evolved it, but she hasn't prepped me on this one, and we haven't had time to catch up on. We have a lot of other stuff to catch up on.
I can imagine. Yeah.
No red flags. No red flags, certainly, Mark. And it was great to meet you. And but no immediate feedback either.
Hey, I'll take that. So I just like to ask, because sometimes there's things I could have said that we're dumb, or maybe we didn't talk about, so I just like to ask that in closing. So awesome. Well, I hope you feel better. I look forward to chatting with you again here in the near future, and if you need anything else or have any other questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Mark.
All right,
See
take
ya.
care. Bye.
Bye.